Well, you probably want to know maybe how I even chose the title. I don't look like a person probably who walks around using that word. And actually, I never was. Well, not that I minded it or whatever, but I would never use it unless maybe I was wearing something white and spilt a glass of wine on it, and then I would say that. However, once I started to do this body of work called Access Consciousness, and by the way, I'm a therapist who's been working in the field of energy and consciousness literally since I'm a child. And I found this amazing body of work 8 years ago, and I have no words to describe the magic and the possibility of change and consciousness that this is a contribution to and changing the world. But going back to the book title, when I started to, well, first let me say that the word fuck was actually an acronym. Now, it is a story. It was in England at some point in time, if a couple wanted to create a child, believe it or not, they would have to get consent from the king. And that would come in the form of a permit that they would put on the door. Fornication under consent of the king. Now, we talk about insanity now. Well, I guess it was always around, but anyway. So I thought about that when I first heard it. And then when I got to do this body of work, knowing the change that this creates, I thought, wow, could you imagine you're getting a permit to create a child? I mean, what greater gift and possibility of creation is that? I don't think there is anything. Yeah. And so it was like, wow, that's really cool. And when I started to facilitate classes that had many, many people in it, especially one of my favorite classes called the foundation class, where it's 4 days, 4 whole days that I'm facilitating these people. And it's about going from where they are, which is the lie of what they're not, to a place where they start finding out who they really are and taking their power and potency back. And in this one class, it was one of my first classes, I had a whole group of people, and energetically I had the awareness that they were all about, and they were friends, they were all about to break through to this next level where they would take that lie off and absolutely get to know how amazing and incredible they were. And it just wasn't happening. I could feel them holding back, like, no, I can't be that great, or I'm not going to change, or the fear of it. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I got so like, what the fuck is it going to take for you to let that go and take you, choose for you, don't choose against you anymore. And as soon as I said that, energetically, it was like I saw this solid wall and it started to crumble apart. And right after that, one by one, within an hour of each other almost, okay, they started to break through. And all of a sudden, there was a new person showing up. I mean, that's the possibility of this work. And I know most people could never believe it. I mean, I have friends, I'm from New York, and my friends who are psychiatrists, psychologists, everything. When I started to talk about it, they were a little like this. And the few of them that actually ended up taking the training said to me one day, Barbara, we know that you don't lie, but we couldn't wrap our heads around the kinds of changes that you've described, because they have clients 12 years, 14 years, 6 years, who come every Tuesday or Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And as they would say, they've hardly ever changed. And that's because they're working cognitively. Right. So when you work cognitively, there'll be change, but you usually go backwards again because the energy is still solidified. Yeah. So it's like, this is the way that you get rid of the energy and your life changes. To be playful and joking, which is how I like to live my life, I'd say, listen, if you can't get this and you can't play and have fun with it, you know what? Go. It doesn't matter. In real life, okay, what I would say is we're at a place in this reality, on this planet, okay, where actually the planet doesn't have that much longer to exist because we live in judgment. We are the cancer cells of this planet. That's being serious, okay? And this is not made up. You know, this is quantum physicists. This is information. Believe me, that is very true. And the thing is, if we do not choose something different, and the difference is coming out of judgment. And how do you do that? You stop judging you. You stop choosing against you because it's all a lie. All of those, everything that we bought about ourselves is a lie. We are magical, amazing, potent beings. We are magicians. But they never taught us. They didn't give us the correct book.
Right.
We read the wrong book, and we've been going backwards. And so, you know, when I put the name of my book out, okay, I know exactly who will come and work with me, because it's not for everyone. And I don't want everyone. I want those people who, when I say the name of my book is whatever the fuck it takes, they go, ah! Those are the people that get what I'm saying. They know this reality is a lie and they're tired of it, but they don't know what to do. And this body of work is the what to be and do to change. You start with yourself, but by changing you energetically, you're one tiny particle of the whole. And you get enough people, which we did like about 10 months ago, we literally changed the 100th monkey, critical mass. We got those 10,000 people and the world has been changing. I know that, you know, a lot of people look at it and they can't believe it's real. And yes, it is, you know, I know what you're saying, but it's not the wrongness, it's the rightness, because that is the chaos energy, and chaos is not what everyone thinks it is. Most people think chaos is turmoil or you know, it's like tumultuous, we have to run. No, chaos is the most amazing creation energy. It's what created the Big Bang. Yes, it needs a ribbon of order, okay, but it's magnificent. And that's what happened. We started to go in another direction because we reached that critical mass. And so what would it take for us to know and perceive that it's changing and that we can be a part of that change? So we don't have to look at what's wrong anymore. We could start looking at, wow, I wonder what this could create. I wonder what I could create if I'm choosing for me and not choosing against me. I'll give you a wonderful example of the potency of it. And it'll be about a body, okay? But you use it the same way about just your belief systems and all of that, but it's the same thing, okay? So a couple of years ago, when I was in Costa Rica taking one of my classes, we learned this body process. And it was about chaos, which, as I said, is the most amazing creation energy. And I came home and I was having my nails done. And so I'm sure mostly women watching. And so here I was having my nails done, and I had actually the class that I had just taken in my ear listening, and my eyes were closed. And all of a sudden I hear screaming and crying and people yelling for ambulances. A couple who had come in to have their pedicures, the man who was sitting, you know, in the chair with his, like a bathtub, his feet were in it. I turned around and he was having a stroke. I actually saw him leaving his body. And he was all slumped over and saliva was coming out of his mouth and everyone was hysterical calling for ambulances. I asked the question, which you always want to do when you're working with anyone to assist them. If I choose this, in other words, if I choose to do this or say this, can they receive it? Because if people can't receive it, and this is a very good tool also, they have to make you wrong. They won't get it. So you don't, especially if you're a therapist or a coach, that's a very important tool. Or if you're a mother, or if you're a girlfriend or a wife. And then the ambulance came with about 6 young men. They came in. I walked over to one of them and I said, I don't know, I can't tell you what happened here, but I would take him to the hospital just to check him out. And they said no. After they examined him, they said no, there's nothing wrong with him. But his wife came over, crying and saying, oh my God, I know you're his angel. And it was like, I said, forget about that. Just do me a favor, take him to the hospital. Okay, that's how powerful and potent chaos energy could be. So you could use it if you have a pain in your body. Okay, you could just put your hand on your body and say, how much chaos can I instill here? Or in your life, okay, how much chaos can I be to change this?
Yeah.
And I know it sounds so childlike and so simple, and trust me, if this man was out of his body and 10 or 15 minutes later, the ambulance said he was fine, trust me, it works. With all of this work, we look at relationship, we look at sex, we look at money, we look at business all the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 8-year-old, 7-year-old, 11-year-old children who take the classes. It's as simple as magic. If you don't want to do the turtle walk anymore, if you want to take that jet plane, get the book.
Yeah.